You're rolling on my cue. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we're just catching up with Coach Ellerbee. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since since your coaching days have ended, through the years?
Well, I stick my head in every once in a while, different basketball teams. I still try to stay pretty close to the Gratz program, and maybe give a little clinic or something down there. Still give clinics at some of the recreation centers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not as heavily involved, but try to stay involved.
Now, when people look at the history of Philadelphia basketball, a lot of times, like the 90s, you hear a lot, it seems like the glory days of the public league,
Right.
How do you define those years? Because it seemed like it was some great basketball, some great players that came out of the public league. And of course, your Gratz team spearheaded a lot of that.
Right.
How do you perceive those years?
It was when you talk about it. I mean, there were times that we traveled all over the country. I think in '93 when we were undefeated, but I think we won 6 tournaments. And but the funny thing about it is, you go to these tournaments and everything, you go all these different cities, and you hear about all these different players and everything, and you come back, and the toughest team that you face all year long is right here in Philly. And
Yeah.
I remember that in '93, Overbrook had a great team.
Yeah, that Overbrook team, refresh my memory if I'm wrong, was that the team with Lawrence Pembroke?
Lawrence Pembroke.
Yeah.
Yeah, he it's a funny thing, he transferred to Overbrook.
Mm-hmm.
We played him 3 times a year.
Wow.
He was at West Philly first.
Okay. Y'all had your hands full with L, huh?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, he was a heck of a player.
Yes, he was.
He was a heck of a player. I'm trying to think of the other kid that played for him went to St. Joe's. Turned out to be a real good player at St. Joe's. But they, I think, were the toughest team that we played.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anywhere.
Wow.
Anywhere.
Wow. Yeah.
And right behind them was West Philly,
Mm-hmm.
who also had a very good team.
Yes.
And don't forget Olney.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jason Lawson.
Olney with Jason Lawson.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then Chester also had a great team.
Mm-hmm.
We played Chester that year. So it was, like I said, you could travel all over the country, and you might run into the toughest team right in your own backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, it was some amazing basketball during that time in Philadelphia. Now, when you look at like back then compared to now, and I know you say you peek your head in every once in a while, what's the biggest difference between that era and say present day?
Well, I think it's coaching. I think it's coaching. When I look at all the coaches that were around then, you had Vince Miller, you had Joey Goldenberg, Max Levin, and coaches like that. It just sometimes when the coaches leave, it's very, very difficult to replace them. And I think that's what happened here in Philadelphia. We just don't have. I don't think we have the same coaches with the same passion for the game that we had back then. And I mean, those coaches, and most of them were fundamentalists, basic fundamental coaches.
Yeah, they were in your face kind of guys too.
Absolutely.
What can you say to like new coaches or younger coaches coming up now? What are some of the principles you can pass on to them now to kind of get them back to that brand, either that brand of basketball or a more improved brand of basketball? Is there some kind of principles that are fundamental to basketball that they need to know?
Well, I think that the important thing for them to understand is that it's not how you begin, it's how you end. And what you have to do is you have to keep adding to the resume of things that you do as a coach. Now, what I went to basketball camps and clinics all the time, and go to Bobby Knight's camp. If Bobby Knight is close by, I'm gonna go see what he has to talk about. Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim, and Dean Smith. I mean, I went to all those camps. I even went to, high school camps. And sometimes you went to camps as, a camp provider as well, so that you can impart your knowledge on them, which also helps you to understand about the game when you have to explain it when you have to explain it yourself. But I think what has been lost is the development of players. I think a lot of people want to corner the market on the talent. And what happens is, you got the talent right there. What you have to do is you have to develop it.
Wow.
Rashid came to Gratz as a 6'3", whatever.
Yeah.
He was 6'3".
Yes.
He was fortunate enough, when you think about him being a big man, but between the time that he set foot in Gratz and December when we started playing, he was then 6'7".
Wow.
He grew 4 inches.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about it is, if you had a whole lot of big people around and everything, you just couldn't discount him. We knew Rashid was going to be a great player before he grew 4 inches.
Yeah, and that's what I remember about your teams. Like, they were always fundamentally sound. Like,
Yes.
with the big men down to the guards, all could handle the ball and make decisions, and make smart decisions. And that's what made the team tough, because you had to guard everybody on the floor and, be honest. And, like, I even remember watching some old footage of Sheed and seeing him out on the perimeter, like, guarding, guys and pressing up. I'm like, wow. Like, what do you do with that? You got a guy that can cover so much space.
Yeah. We used to make it difficult. We used to put him on the point in the that 1-3-1 trap that we had. And,
That's
very, very
had to
difficult.
be a nightmare.
He spread out and everything. It's difficult to get the ball over the top of
Exactly.
him. So, and he could move his feet. He moved his feet pretty
Absolutely.
good. So, but the thing that like I said, I tried to make sure that they understood that everyone has to play defense. There's no, you don't take a break on defense. If you have to take a break, it's going to have to be at the offensive end, not at the defensive end.
And then with some of those guys, of course, you named Rasheed Wallace, who one of the best players to ever come out of Philadelphia. Now, obviously, even with that, you coached a lot of great players. What are some of the greatest players that you coached?
Well, I think that the first year that I coached, there was Dennis Whitaker. And I know a lot of people forgot about
Dink.
They might have forgotten about Dink, but we had some great guards. There were some great guards that always did the job for us and everything. But the thing about it is, Dink was the first. He was the first, and he set the bar for all the guards that came through Gratz.
Wow. Because
he understood. And again, you're talking about someone who's a great student of the game. Dink was like a coach out on the court.
Yeah.
And I now with Dink, I didn't have to do anything.
Wow.
And a lot of people always said, people say he's a great coach, but he doesn't do anything. He just sits at the end of the bench. And I did.
Yeah.
And I was proud of that, because what I did is I made them understand that they have to be out in charge out there on the court. And with Dink, I didn't have to change defenses. I didn't have to change offenses.
Wow.
He recognized the defense from the other teams. He could set the offense that went against that defense.
Wow.
He was tremendous.
Wow.
Really.
That's very impressive.
I remember he won a game for us. Right at the end, we were playing Northeast when they had a real good team. The kid Blocker, I'm trying to think of, they had Blocker and another player. They're both Division I players. But I told him, I said, one thing we don't ever want a team to do is hold the ball on us. We want to dictate tempo. So they spread out, and they were ready to hold the ball. They had a 1-point lead.
Wow.
They had a 1-point lead, so they spread out and everything. Dink turns around and says, 1. It's hollered 1. So everybody rotated to a 1-3-1 zone. And, what happened is, after they rotated up and everything, they tried to throw the ball over Dink. Dink went up and grabbed it with 2 hands.
Wow.
Went down the other end and laid it in at the buzzer.
Wow.
It was, but those are some of the things that he did. But he set the tone. He's he's the man as far as guards are concerned. Because like I said, he was the model.
And then after Dink came, who, and then down the line?
Down the line, I mean, they even had some guys that after Dink, some of them were forgotten